and welcome back to Mining Networks. I'm joined with Peter Espig, who is CEO of Nicola Mining. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by getting a nice overview of the company.
Nicola is a very unique company. So if I were to explain things in two sentences, I would say we are a junior mining company that has positive cash flow. And at the same time, we give investors the exploration upside. So, and that's important because you're protected on the downside, but you still enjoy all the upside of exploration.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting structure you've got here with the company. But before we dive into it, let's get a bit about your background, because you've had quite an interesting timeline to get you here, haven't you?
So I started as a student in high school. I was a diamond driller, and I drilled all the way through high school, university. So I knew what it was like to be on the mine site as a child or when I was young. I then went off, did my undergrad degree and my MBA, and worked on Wall Street for one of the banks I worked for was Goldman Sachs. And then I retired. And when this opportunity came up in 2013 to take over a company that was at the time distressed, I thought, wow, what a serendipitous circle of my life to have an opportunity to essentially take over a company of the industry that I first started in.
Let's go back to Nicola Mining. Let's run me through the capital structure there. So the market cap, share structure, how much cash is in the bank? Because obviously you've got a bit of cash flow there.
Yeah, so we have about 290 million shares outstanding. The stock is much more tightly held than the market probably understands, in that we have, between the four largest shareholders, we would control, and that includes myself, we would have about 60 to 70% of the outstanding shares. And then as far as the cash, we are generating positive cash flow, but we recently paid out part of the debenture. So we continue to pay out the debenture from our cash flow. We expect to have about $1 million to $1.5 million at the end of the year. And then we'll continue to add to our cash pool monthly going forward.
So run me through the core assets within Nicola Mining, because you've got four main assets.
So the real value of the company is the new Craigmont project. And it's very unique, and I cannot emphasize how important this is, in that, first of all, it's the highest grade copper mine in the history of North America. It's adjacent to the largest copper mine in Canada, and it's largely unexplored. But the most important thing is that it's permitted. It's a permitted mine. So as we look at mining projects, it's the average length, this is from an E&Y report, that from when a company comes with a 43101 and they do their mine application for a project to commence mining operations, it takes about 14 years to get those permits. So when you expedite, and when you look at the NPV, or the net present value of the project, the fact that we have permits in hand, it's brownfield, we're on this site. And another key important point is the fact that there was no exploration really done on the project from 1982 to 2015. What we did is we consolidated the ownership, because there were 7 owners of the project. So you can't have 7 people run a company. You can't have 7 people make all the decisions, even in a family. And so it made it very difficult. And so once we became the sole owner of the project, that's when we started exploration. And the following year, as a matter of fact, our first drill hole we had 73 meters of 1.03%. So the grades are there, the permit is there, and we have approximately 150 square kilometers of land adjacent to a copper mine in a known location of copper. So it's a great project. And then we have our mill. And another unique characteristic about our mill is that we went out and we purchased the land. So I don't know of many mining companies that actually own the land where the mill sits on. And so we submitted an application to the Ministry of Mining to essentially convert the entire site into an industrial park. So we've become a mining industrial park, and that opens the opportunity for other revenue streams, for other businesses. We have a gravel pit, we have a rock quarry, but it's all focused on the cash flow. And when we received our permit in 2016, we received another amendment to our mill permit, which we're very fortunate to have. And our permit reads that Nicola Mining has the right to accept and process mill feed from anywhere in the province of British Columbia, subject to notifying the Minister of Mining 10 days ahead. So it gives us carte blanche over a very large area. And it was actually the Ministry of Mining that introduced us to Oseko project that we have, which is the Barkerville Gold. And we just signed an agreement that we announced on Monday, on December 2nd, to start commencing into a partnership with Oseko to process mill feed from their mine, because they don't have a mine permit yet. And Blue Lagoon is the same, where we have a milling partnership. They do the mining, we do the milling. And so it benefits the province of British Columbia, and it also benefits ourselves and our partners. And then we have Treasure Mountain, which is a fully permitted silver mine. We have the ability to reopen that. We are applying for a multi-year permit for that site right now. And we have a 75% economic ownership in Dominion Gold property. And that, again, is a very high-grade gold property. What's unique about it is it grades about an ounce per ton gold at surface. Mm-hmm. The reason why it still exists is because it only has about somewhere between 15 to 30,000 tons of material. Mm-hmm. So because of that, it didn't justify them building a mine or so. We've applied for a bulk sample permit. And again, that comes to our mill, feeds the exploration on Craigmont, and it fills our coffers with cash.
So let's go to New Craigmont Copper. So you've obviously given a lovely overview there, but let's go back in time a little bit with the history.
Exploration really started in 1952. From 1962 to 1982, the mine operated. And at that time, as I said, it was actually the largest mine at the time in British Columbia. It's the highest grade copper mine in the history of North America. And then in 1982, it underwent, the mine closed, but it still had a large copper resource in situ, but it closed because copper prices was 60 cents at the time, and it cost them 61 cents to extract. Now, that's very important to know, because the cost of mining actually hasn't gone up that much because of techniques, mm-hmm. New technologies and larger machinery. But at that time, they underwent an MBO. So the management bought out the asset from Placer Dome with the specific intention of taking the magnetite, which was in the tailings, and processing it. So they actually had no intention of expanding the copper asset. There was no exploration done on the site, drilling exploration, and the historic exploration up until 1962 was very limited because you didn't have a Z-TEM survey, IP survey, inverse the polarization. You didn't have the level of soil sampling that exists now. So all they relied on was electromagnetic survey, and that basically married the magnetite with the copper. And now since then, we've gone and we've expanded that to various surveys, and we lay them over top of each other. So we've done everything. We then, in 2000, as I mentioned, in 2016, we started our exploration, but then we kind of stopped 2 years ago because we underwent a multi-year application permit. And that was very important for us, because if you do a 1-year permit, you have to specify exactly how many holes at exactly what location you're going to drill. And there's so many high, exciting targets on the project that we wanted essentially carte blanche over larger areas. So we underwent this 2-year permit application. We received it 3 weeks ago. And under the new permit that we have 5 years carte blanche exploration over the majority of the area that we're interested in. And it allows us to do 190 drill holes, 12 kilometers of trenching, inverse polarization over the entire area. And so now we're able to explore really the targets that we've actually never been able to explore. And some of these are very exciting targets because they're copper outcroppings in areas that we've previously not been permitted to drill. So 2023 is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, no, it sounds it. So in terms of the exploration program, you'll fund it through the mill site. Could you talk me through the revenue streams there?
First of all, we were very creative when it came to revenue streams. And I was often actually, to be honest, criticized where people would say, what's your focus? You're doing this. Like, where's the focus of the company? And it's quite simple. It's cash flow and exploration. So you can't break everything down into these complex pods. You have to think of the large picture. So as far as the funding and our revenues for 2023, we have a rock pit, we have a rock quarry, a gravel pit, we have a soil business that we receive fly ash from another source. We receive material from Trans Mountain for their pipeline project. But again, the focus is starting the mill. And we have mill feed sources coming from Oseko, and we have mill feed source coming from Blue Lagoon. And they are very important partners to us. And again, 2023 is going to be, we'll have several multiple revenue sources, and those revenue sources, the cash will go into the coffer, and that cash flow will be utilized towards operations and exploration.
As a company, what are you most proud of achieving over the past 12 months?
Well, over the past 12 months, we've accomplished more than we ever have. And to be frank, when I took over the role of CEO in 2013, I had no idea about the difficulties, the complexities, and the obstacles that mining companies face. And mining CEOs tend to be very optimistic. I think we've become more realistic. But in 2022, we were able to get the multi-year permit. We completed a Z-TIM. We know exactly where our targets are. We took a company that, relied on raising the next round at some point for either exploration or operation to self-generated. And I think that, again, is very important because 2023 is a big unknown. And so, having that ability to not have to go to the markets to remain in operations, because we're seeing more and more distress. And so I'm very proud of our creativity to get the company into a position where now we can really aggressively go after our exploration based on the base that we've created of this financial stability of the company. So that is, I'm not only proud of myself, but the entire team.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So talk me through what the next 12 months look like. For investors watching, break down the kind of key milestones to look out for.
I would say the key milestones, there will be two. One will be the operations of the mill. And I think that, having the peripheral cash flow streams, that's great, but ultimately we are a mining company. And to be able to show to the market that our mill is operating with solid partners and also with our own Dominion project. So that's something that will happen in 2023 that's very exciting. Again, what's really exciting though is, people invest in exploration companies for findings and discoveries and exploration. And we kind of know what we're anticipating, but, I will just say that this is a largely unexplored asset that is the highest grade copper mine asset in the history of North America. Largely unexplored, adjacent to the largest copper mine in Canada, in the most renowned copper zone in British Columbia, and we will be exploring that. So I would just say stay tuned and be excited for the results.
Well, we're definitely excited to follow along with this story. It sounds like an exciting year ahead for you guys. So thank you so much for your time today.